There comes a point in many men's lives when they stop expecting women to flirt with them. When they're younger, flirting can feel obvious. A woman smiles at you, compliments you, laughs at your jokes, finds reasons to be near you, or simply tells you that she enjoys your company. But as men get older, something interesting can happen. A woman may still be interested in you without making it obvious at all. She may not tell you that you're attractive. She may not directly ask you out. Instead, she may start asking questions that sound completely ordinary. Are you married? What do you usually do on weekends? Do you live alone? What kind of woman do you like? Why are you still single? And because these questions don't sound romantic, an older man may answer them without realizing that she could be trying to find out something much more personal. Is he available? What kind of life does he have? What does he enjoy? And perhaps most importantly, could there be an opportunity for the two of them to become closer? If you enjoy conversations about female psychology, attraction, relationships, and the subtle ways people communicate interest, consider joining our membership. You'll find exclusive videos there where we explore these subjects in greater depth. The link is in the description below. Now, one important thing before we continue. Not every woman who asks these questions is flirting. Sometimes she's simply being friendly. Sometimes she's curious. Sometimes she just enjoys having a conversation. The important thing is not one individual question, it's the pattern. When several personal questions appear together and they're combined with attention, eye contact, laughter, remembering details, and finding reasons to continue talking, the situation can become much more interesting. And one of the first questions to pay attention to is surprisingly simple. Are you seeing anyone? At first, this sounds harmless. Maybe relationships came up naturally in the conversation. Maybe she is talking about her own relationship. But if she wants to know whether you're married, single, divorced, or dating someone, she's learning something important about your availability. And sometimes she doesn't stop there. How long have you been single? Do you date? Are you looking for someone? Notice the progression. The conversation has moved from your relationship status to your romantic availability. That doesn't prove she's interested in you, but if she is already showing other signs of interest, it can be a meaningful clue. Because when someone becomes curious about you romantically, your availability suddenly matters, and questions give her a safe way to find out. She doesn't have to say, "I like you." She can simply ask whether someone else already has your attention. If you say you're single, she has learned something. If you say you're happily involved, she can move on without ever having made herself vulnerable. That is one reason subtle flirting can be so difficult to recognize. The second question is one that sounds even more innocent. What do you usually do on the weekends? Again, this could simply be small talk, but listen to what happens after you answer. You tell her you usually go for coffee, take a walk, work in the garden, or visit a particular restaurant. Instead of changing the subject, she starts asking more. Where do you go? Do you usually go alone? What do you do on Sundays? Have you always liked that? Now she's learning about your lifestyle, and sometimes she's looking for common ground. You say you enjoy walking, she tells you she loves walking too. You mention a restaurant, she says she's been there. You talk about traveling, she tells you where she wants to go. These little similarities create something important. They create possibilities. Because when two people discover that they enjoy the same things, it becomes easier to imagine spending time together. Attraction doesn't always begin with a compliment. Sometimes it begins with discovering that you have something in common. And that's why the questions matter. They're giving her information about you while also creating opportunities for connection. Another question older men often don't recognize is, what kind of woman do you like? This one can be especially revealing. She's not simply asking whether you prefer blondes or brunettes. She may want to know what qualities attract you. Do you like confidence, kindness, intelligence, a good sense of humor, independence, a quiet personality, a woman who enjoys traveling? An older man might answer, I like someone who's kind, intelligent, independent, and easy to talk to. And then something interesting may happen. She starts describing herself. I'm pretty independent. I don't like drama either. People always tell me I'm easy to talk to. Now she's no longer simply asking about your preferences. She's showing you how she might fit into them. Again, this doesn't automatically mean she's flirting, but if she is already asking about your relationship status, your weekend plans, and your personal life, this kind of question becomes much more significant. She may be trying to discover whether the two of you are compatible. And sometimes people don't ask, would you like me? They ask questions that help them figure out whether the answer might be yes. Another question that can catch an older man completely off guard is, why are you still single? This can sound like teasing, it can sound like curiosity, but sometimes there is something hidden inside the question. She's essentially telling you that she sees you as someone who could have a partner, and she wants to know why you don't. Maybe she's wondering whether you're difficult. Maybe she's trying to understand whether you're emotionally available, or maybe she's wondering whether there could be an opportunity. The follow-up question is even more interesting. Are you looking for someone? Now she's no longer asking about your past, she's asking about your future. And if she is interested in you, that answer matters. If you say, no, I'm perfectly happy alone, she knows the door is probably closed. If you say, I'm open to meeting the right person, you've given her a completely different answer. And notice something important. You haven't had to declare attraction. She hasn't had to either. The conversation simply creates an opening. That's often how subtle flirting works. One person makes a small move, the other person responds. Then another small move happens. Nobody has to risk everything at once. Another question older men should pay attention to is, what are you doing this weekend? There is a difference between asking what you did last weekend and asking what you're doing next weekend. One asks about your past, the other asks about your availability. If she asks this once, it means very little. But if she repeatedly wants to know what you're doing, especially after you've already established that you're single, it may be worth noticing. Perhaps you tell her, not much, I might get coffee Saturday morning, and she responds, I love coffee. That could be nothing, or it could be an opening. Maybe she says, I've been meaning to try that place. Again, she isn't directly asking you out, she's simply giving you information. And now you have a choice. You could change the subject, or you could say, you should come with me sometime. You don't need to assume anything. You don't need to tell yourself that she definitely likes you. You're simply giving the interaction somewhere to go. If she changes the subject, that's fine. If she responds positively, you've learned something. This is an important distinction for older men. You don't need absolute certainty before showing interest. You simply need to remain respectful and pay attention to how she responds. There is another clue that may actually be more important than the questions themselves. She keeps finding reasons to talk to you. Think about that. A woman who has no interest in continuing a conversation can usually let it end. But if she repeatedly comes back with another question, another story, another joke, or another reason to continue the interaction, she clearly enjoys talking to you. That doesn't automatically mean romantic attraction, but it does mean the connection matters enough for her to keep it going. And if she remembers small things you've told her, that's even more interesting. You mentioned your favorite restaurant last week. She remembers it. You told her about a trip you were planning. She asks how it went. You mentioned that you like a particular kind of music. She brings it up again. That's attention, and attention is often more meaningful than a single flirtatious sentence, because attraction isn't always communicated through one obvious signal. It's communicated through patterns: a question, a smile, another question, a shared interest, a personal story, a little teasing, a reason to continue talking, then another reason. Eventually, you may notice that the conversation has become much more personal than when it started, and that's when many older men make a mistake. They assume she's just being friendly. Sometimes she is, but sometimes the man is so convinced that a woman couldn't possibly be interested in him that he doesn't even consider the possibility. Getting older doesn't make a man invisible. In fact, some qualities can become more attractive with age. Confidence can become quieter. A man may become comfortable with himself. He may no longer feel the need to impress everyone. He knows what he wants. He knows what he doesn't want. He has experience. He may listen better. He may be calmer. And he may have a sense of humor that comes from actually having lived through things. For some women, those qualities are attractive. So when a woman starts asking you personal questions, don't immediately assume she's flirting, but don't automatically dismiss it either. Look at the entire interaction. Does she want to know whether you're single? Does she ask what you do in your free time? Does she want to know whether you live alone? Does she ask what kind of woman you like? Does she tell you that she shares those qualities? Does she ask what you're doing this weekend? Does she remember things you've told her? Does she find reasons to keep talking? And perhaps most importantly, does she seem genuinely interested in your answers? Because one question means very little, a pattern means much more. And the healthiest way to respond isn't to assume every friendly woman is secretly attracted to you. It's much simpler. Pay attention, stay respectful, answer honestly, ask questions back, find common interests, and let the interaction develop naturally. If you're interested in her, you don't need to make some dramatic confession. You can simply show it. If she tells you she enjoys walking, ask where she likes to walk. If she mentions that she's free Saturday, tell her what you're doing. If she asks what kind of woman you like, answer honestly. Give her an opportunity to discover that you're interested without putting pressure on her. Because sometimes a woman isn't waiting for you to make some grand romantic gesture. She's waiting to see whether you'll recognize the small openings she's already giving you. And that may be why some older men completely miss female flirting. They're looking for the obvious signs. They're waiting for a compliment, a direct invitation, a clear declaration. But attraction doesn't always arrive that way. Sometimes it arrives as a question. Are you seeing anyone? What do you usually do on weekends? Do you live alone? What kind of woman do you like? Why are you still single? What are you doing this weekend? The words themselves may sound ordinary, but sometimes the pattern tells a different story. Not every question is flirting. Not every smile is attraction. Not every friendly conversation is secretly romantic. But when a woman repeatedly wants to know about your life, remembers your answers, shares personal information, looks for common ground, and keeps finding reasons to continue talking, don't automatically assume you're imagining the connection. She may simply enjoy your company, or she may be giving you an opening. The only way to find out is to let the conversation develop. So, I want to ask the older men watching this, have you ever looked back at a conversation with a woman and realized much later that she may have been interested in you? Did she ask whether you were single? Did she want to know what you were doing that weekend? Did she ask about your relationships, your hobbies, or the kind of woman you liked? And at the time, did you completely miss what those questions might have meant? Let me know in the comments, because there are probably many men watching this who have had a woman ask them these exact questions and never realized that she may have been trying to get closer. And if this video gave you a different way of looking at female psychology and attraction after 60, like the video, subscribe, and share it with another man who might relate. Because sometimes a woman doesn't tell you she's interested. Sometimes she starts asking questions. And sometimes those questions are her way of finding out whether you're interested too.